What's up, guys? This is JD with JD TV, and we have more breaking news about the, for lack of a better word, the culture war in sports media. So Will Cain, if you guys don't know, Will Cain is leaving ESPN. Yes, the last pillar has fallen. The last right-wing or centrist person at ESPN is leaving. He is gone. Now, this isn't the same thing as Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock was lowballed. For people who don't know, that's also a video I covered. It's Jason Whitlock leaving Speak for Yourself, explaining the trials and tribulations with that situation. But Will Cain's a little bit different. So and honestly, you could argue it's a little bit. It's better. It's a little bit better for Will Cain in his situation. So I'll read right here. It's from InsideRadio.com. ESPN personality and radio host Will Cain looks to be headed back to Fox News, according to multiple sources. So he's going back to Fox News. He's going to be a political contributor now. He's switching from sports to politics. He's switching. Cain was an on-air political contributor at Fox before joining ESPN, a noted conservative. Cain was also previously a pundit on Glenn Beck's The Blaze. His national ESPN radio show, The Will Cain Show, made its debut in 2018, and honestly, it's been one of the best shows on ESPN, I would argue. Maybe that's just my bias speaking, but I've liked it ever since it's come on the radio. He's also been a TV panelist for the morning debate show First Take, which honestly has been his best and most funniest situations were on First Take. A lot of First Take fans a few years ago, I remember in 2018 thinking that he would replace the much disliked Max Kellerman, and he would take over, him and Stephen A. Smith. A lot of us thought that would be an incredible combo, having Will Cain versus Stephen A. Smith every morning debating about various topics. But clearly, we can't have that because it's ESPN, and everybody knows that if you're on ESPN, you have to be a Democrat. And if you are not a Democrat, you will be piled on. And you know what's funny is a lot of times on ESPN, on First Take, Will Cain would take a conservative position on something, and they would pile on him. And he would hold his own versus like three people. He'd hold his own. And I loved it. I personally loved it. I loved Will Cain on First Take. I will desperately miss that. But I haven't watched First Take in a long time because it's been crap for at least 6 months. They haven't had any good topics for a long time, especially since COVID. Oh, my God. They haven't had anything since COVID. It's been crap. It's been utterly crap on ESPN. And, he told the Washington Post, quote, ESPN doesn't have a voice like mine in 2018. And that was true. That was true. They didn't have a voice like his. They had fired everybody else. They fired Mike Ditka. They fired Kurt Schilling. They fired every conservative. Fired Ryan Russillo. They fired every conservative that wouldn't just flip, basically. And it is what it is. It is what it is. This is what sports media is coming to. This is what Disney is coming to. This is what ESPN and all media is coming to. Unless you are on Fox and Rupert Murdoch owns your company, you are not allowed on TV. That's wrong think. You're not allowed to support the president. You're not allowed to be a conservative. That's bad. Bad boy. Go back in the corner. So, anyway. So, let me get to the details, though. The reasons, okay? So, ESPN has been doing, so this is actually there's a little bit more reason to this than Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock was just fed up. He was just pissed off. And I talked about that in my other video. He was pissed off. Will Cain, on the other hand, he wanted more money. He saw the ratings, he saw other people making money, and he also noticed that Disney was doing pay cuts for ESPN people, and he was like, bro, my ratings are fine. Screw you. You have to give me good money. According to sources, he asked for $2 million a year. ESPN, according to other sources, the newspaper, the Washington Post, I don't know how accurate this is, they report that they offered him $1.2 million to stay. So they did want him to stay. But, I guess it's not as biased, I guess. I'll get to the bias part in a second, actually. There is one bias thing. But they wanted him to be on the radio with somebody else. He didn't want to do that. And $1.2 million was discussed, and Cain declined to comment on that. ESPN says that never happened. Who knows what actually makes sense, but apparently he's going to be on Fox and Fox Nation. Another report says that Dan Le Batard might be gone next. He might be the next one. And Dan Le Batard, I don't know what his politics are, but he's a funny guy, and I imagine that he's said a lot of offensive things, and people are not going to like that. Here's where the bias part is. I'll show you this. So, Will Cain is probably the most notable for arguing about the Colin Kaepernick situation. He's the one who argues, Colin Kaepernick, he was just doing it for publicity and all this stuff. And I agree with him 100%. I agree with everything he said about Colin Kaepernick 100%. He just wasn't good enough to be, overlooked. Like, his politics were too radical, and he wasn't good enough to just get over that. If he was Aaron Rodgers kneeling at the anthem, you'd probably get away with it. But you're not. You're Colin Kaepernick. You suck. So you're just average. You're a project at best. So, and that's the facts. But anyway, so Max Kellerman is still going to be at First Take. He probably makes jack shit because he sucks. But you know what? They don't care. But here's the thing. So right after Will Cain, the second Will Cain leaves, guess what they do? Disney wants to give money to Colin Kaepernick. And they want Colin Kaepernick to work at Walt Disney Company. And he accepts. He says, and this is what he says. He said, "I'm excited for a partnership with Disney across all its platforms to elevate black and brown directors, creators, storytellers, and producers." See, this is the thing. Everybody wants people like me and Will Cain and Clay Travis and Jason Whitlock, like, oh, you guys got to see things our way. You got to see things our way. You got to see things our way. And we don't see things your way, okay? We see things our way. But let me challenge you guys something. Why don't you see things my way, or maybe our way? I don't know how Will Cain, because we all think for ourselves. That's the thing. We're free thinkers. But let me ask you to think my way for a second. I'm constantly told my entire life, for 27 years, every single year, every year I was in school, by my parents, grandparents, everyone told me to live by MLK's words. Judge not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character, right? So we're not supposed to talk about people, we're not supposed to focus on people's skin color, their religion, whatever else. We're not supposed to focus on those things. We're supposed to focus on how good of a person they are. Are they nice? Are they kind? Are they good-hearted? Are they do good things for other people? That's what we're supposed to focus on. Now, all of a sudden, since the last 2 or 3 years, pretty much since Trump got in office, ironically, of course, since the president got in office, because it wasn't like this in Obama, it's just been, well, no, you have to focus on only the skin color. Oh, you just have to focus on only the skin color. That's all it is. And it's not coming from Trump. Trump's never said that. The president's never said that. Right-wingers don't say that. Fox News doesn't say that. You know who says that? The liberals, the leftists, these establishment cronies like Colin Kaepernick. Imagine if I said, imagine if I said, I want to join this company so I can just promote white and tan people. I don't want any black or brown. I just want white or tan. I'm just saying, think about that for a second. I'm not saying I would ever say anything like that, but imagine if I did. You would call me a racist. So how is Colin Kaepernick not a racist? Explain that to me. Just explain to me in the comments how Colin Kaepernick is not a racist. How you are not a racist if you support Colin Kaepernick's divisive nature. But I digress. We'll move on to this. Let's read this. So, Le Batard, this is the last part, I guess. So I'm sad about Will Cain leaving. You know what I will do is I'll actually show you the last straw. This is the last straw that tore Will Cain away. So this is audio from the Will Cain show.
Racism. And a struggle of black men in this country. But I think one would have to understand as well that Drew Brees sees something separate in that flag. That's the conversation I had with
both Will Cain and Jason Whitlock. I think the final straw was Drew Brees. That's just my hypothesis. The Drew Brees situation was the final straw for these guys to leave. Because they're just not comfortable in these situations where you force them. Here, I'll let him explain it.
friends this morning. I said, Bill Clinton said in the 1990s that there's nothing wrong with America that can't be fixed with what's right with America. Drew Brees looks at that flag and sees all that we can be and much of what we have become. And some of my friends have said, but we don't see that, Will. When we see that flag, we see a symbol of cops treating us like crap. And I can understand that. And I was told, by the way, understanding's not enough as well. You need to empathize. And I get that as well. But I think we also have to understand something else. That this is a disagreement that may not be able to be bridged. That you can do two things at the same time. You can believe in the struggle. You can think we need to make progress, that we need to do better. You can acknowledge the problem of police brutality, and you can still think that kneeling before the American flag feels like an act of disrespect, whether it's intended or not. I would provide for you the last 5 years of disagreement as evidence of that fact. It seems to be a bridge we are incapable of crossing, perhaps because there is a gap between intention and meaning. And how some...
And that's it, man. And I won't get into his final episode, which aired, I believe, last Friday, where he cried. He cried because so many of his audience listened to him. They listened to him as a conservative. They listened to him as a man, as an individual. They didn't just label him whatever the media wanted them to label him. That's the thing. We need to stop with these labels. You know what I mean? Not every liberal is a snowflake, and most conservatives are not racist. That's just a fact. So can we stop? Can we stop dividing each other? That's my challenge, I guess. If you're watching this and you enjoy this content, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, smash like. But what I'm trying to say is that, I'm not watching ESPN anymore. That's number one. That's the first thing I'm never turning that on. I'm never even going to watch it on YouTube, because ESPN is so one-sided. They don't even want to hear the other side. They're not even interested in that. They don't want even to bring Will Cain to the table. They never liked that. They were always trying to shut him down. That's why Max Kellerman even has a job, is to shut people like Will Cain down. It's silly. And am I mad that Colin Kaepernick got a deal with Disney? Honestly, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Whatever. I don't see how he'll be useful to Disney, and I honestly bet it blows up in their face, to be honest. Yeah, see, this is what this guy, Mark Dice, on Twitter says. So you're doing the exact opposite of what Martin Luther King said to do, basically, is what you're saying. You're being racist. Exactly, man. This is racist. This is racist. I don't know how you don't see that this is racist for the people who are backing for the Colin Kaepernick supporters, but it is. It's a racist situation. Almost everything Kaepernick says is divisive. It's meant to cause division and to cause doubt that we don't have progress in this country, that we are just a hateful country. And people like Will Cain will say, well, no, it's not a mostly hateful country. We're a mostly loving country when we have problems. And that somehow is controversial for you. If that's controversial for you, then honestly, you're the problem. You're the problem. You're the reason why we have so many issues. If we can't even have a simple conversation about what is ailing our country, then we're not even a country anymore. We're two different states. And what happens with two different states is there ends up being war. I don't want that. I want people to stop the division. I want people to be able to, because that's the thing, we used to only unite on sports. That was the last thing we had. Everything else was divisive. School is divisive. Work is divisive. Everything is divisive. Everything is political. We used to have sports and theater. And now sports and theater and cinema, it's all divisive. That's all it is. And it's really messed up. Politics should not matter. ESPN should be able to hire a conservative and a liberal, and they should be able to argue in a civil way. But that's not the case. In this case specifically, Cain, he wanted a raise, and I don't blame him for wanting a raise. But they are making pay cuts, and they're probably making pay cuts because they're hiring stupid people. That's just my opinion, though. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Everybody have an excellent day. I'll see you next time.